A man reaches for a glass of water only to find it empty. The more he tries to grab, the faster it slips away. In the silence that follows, one question lingers. Why do we want things most when they're just out of reach? 5 centuries ago, Niccolo Machiavelli wrote, The Prince, a short manual about power. In it, he observed a strange truth: people rarely value what is easy to head. They worship what's scarce, distant, or forbidden. Today, that same force shapes our modern world, from luxury brands to dating apps. The scarcity principle, the idea that rarity increases desire, drives everything from love to economics. We live in an age where attention is currency, and the hardest thing to get often feels the most valuable. In 1513, after being exiled from Florence, Machiavelli began writing about the psychology of power. He watched rulers gain loyalty not by generosity, but by withholding favor. He noted that when access is limited, people chase harder. 300 years later, economists started testing similar patterns. In 1776, Adam Smith wrote that scarcity determines value as much as utility. But it wasn't until the 20th century that psychology entered the equation. In 1959, researchers Jack Brem and Leon Festinger coined reactance theory, the human tendency to want what's forbidden. By the 1970s, marketing adopted it fully. Companies limited product drops. Movie studios created limited screenings, and scarcity became strategy. The principle Machiavelli wrote in exile now ran global economies. When was the last time you wanted something more after being told you couldn't have it? Studies showed that when people believe an opportunity is disappearing, they assign it higher value. In one experiment, cookies from a half-empty jar were rated tastier than those from a full one in relationships. A 2014 study by Duke University found that uncertainty heightens attraction. The less we know if someone likes us, the more we think about them. Scarcity also fuels consumer demand. In 2020, limited edition sneaker releases triggered online frenzies, with resale prices 10x higher within hours. Everywhere we look, romance, politics, branding, the same law repeats. Restriction breeds desire. Not everyone agrees on how far the scarcity principle goes. Some experts argue it's less about rarity and more about control, that people desire autonomy, not just scarce items. Others point out cultural gaps. In collectivist societies, abundance can be valued over scarcity, emphasizing harmony instead of competition. Ethicists warn that artificial scarcity can manipulate consumers. When brands pretend to run out of stock, it exploits instinct more than choice. Still, most researchers agree, limitation influences perception, whether it's natural or engineered. At a human level, scarcity shapes emotion in quiet, invisible ways. Lovers chase attention, thinking it equals worth. Shoppers feel urgency, as if missing a deal means missing belonging. Students compete for limited university seats, parents for limited time. In moments like these, scarcity turns time and emotion into commodities. It doesn't just sell products, it sells hope, validation, and sometimes illusion. Modern psychologists compare desire to a pendulum. When freedom swings away, we push harder to reach it. That's why limited exhibit too, a product or person, creates a spark of obsession. Machiavelli saw this as a weapon of influence. Withhold power to maintain loyalty. Think of it like oxygen. When it's plentiful, we don't notice it. When it's taken away, it's all we can think about. The scarcity principle is the oxygen of desire. It reminds us how much the human brain values what feels uncertain. Today's emotional economics turns this instinct into data. Algorithms measure our cravings in milliseconds. Ads track how long we hesitate before clicking add to cart. The same pattern Machiavelli described now lives in code. We've seen how a 16th century insight evolved into a global strategy. Machiavelli's observation became marketing, psychology, and politics rolled into one. If scarcity drives desire, what happens when everything becomes available instantly? That's where the story heads next. High confidence. Artificial scarcity will keep growing online. From NFTs to limited digital drops, companies use it to spark emotional urgency. Medium confidence. Audiences may grow resistant. As awareness spreads, people might value transparency over exclusivity. Already, some brands are experimenting with open access campaigns that reward sharing instead of hoarding. Low confidence. If abundance becomes the norm, desire might shift entirely from owning. 2. Experiencing in that world connection replaces scarcity as the new status symbol. Machiavelli wrote that men desire more what they cannot have than what they do. 500 years later, that sentence still shapes our screens, our markets, and our hearts. Desire is not the enemy, it's the compass that shows us what we value. The trick is learning when it's real and when it's engineered. If you want to understand how emotion becomes strategy, watch next. The hidden psychology of control. How power manipulates the heart. All sources cited are from verified academic journals, books, and publicly available reports. This video does not offer personal, financial, or psychological advice. Updates and clarifications will appear in the description if new evidence emerges.